Yes, Luther did struggle. I mean, he called James the epistle of straw. He hated James, but they think it's a good reminder that all theology is contextual. All theology arises from a personal or a communal problem that it's trying to solve. Luther had a personal life that was so works-oriented, so sort of self-defeating, that of course the theology that Luther is going to build is very anti-works in any way and sees James's approach, faith without works is dead, as terrible because Luther had lived a life of works and it made him miserable and therefore led to this recovery of a theology of justification by faith. I personally, in my own reading of the New Testament, struggle to find a disagreement between Paul and James. Paul says, or Ephesians says, we are saved by grace through faith in order to accomplish the good works that Jesus has for us. James is not denying the effect of faith. He is saying the way that you see, the way that you notice, the way that you observe that somebody has faith is by the fact that they're living that out. And I mean, so much of Paul gets yelled at by progressives for being so moralistic that he wants people to do this and not that. Of course, Paul expects people's lives to bear fruit in a real way. Paul, of course, is the author of the fruit of the Spirit. The way that you know that you are walking in the Spirit is by bearing fruit. I don't see the disagreement between Paul and James, but I understand why Luther was so allergic to James's emphasis on action. I pastor a very progressive congregation in Washington, D.C., and we have a lot of folks who come out of evangelicalism. They're ex-evangelicals, post-evangelical in some way, or they are deconstructing their faith. And there's this surprising relationship between folks who grew up in evangelical Christianity that heard a lot of saved by grace kind of preaching and then were denied leadership opportunities because of their gender or their sexuality, and therefore they left that. And then they find themselves at a church like the Table, and the Table is much more, I mean, we are affirming of all genders, of trans folks, of gay folks, at all levels of leadership and preaching and all of that. And we're much more willing to say, like, your faith has to bear good fruit in society. We're a much more activist sort of church and wanting to see policies be affected in society that, you know, look like the kingdom of God in terms of like dealing with hunger and violence and all that sort of stuff. So you got one kind of church that says you're saved by grace through faith, not by what you do, but also if you are female, you can't lead. If you are gay, you can't lead. If you are trans, there's something wrong with you. Versus a progressive church like ours that says, no, we accept people of all identities. God made you good. You are not inherently depraved. You are not inherently fallen. And because of that set goodness in you, therefore, we have this responsibility, this duty to, you know, affect good in the world. I think it was C.S. Lewis who made a comparison between faith and works and the two shears of a pair of scissors. We're asking which one is more important, and it's sort of a silly question where I'm pretty sure engineers could tell me which one is more important than scissors, but we get the idea that you need both the faith that God created us with divine innate worth. And if we believe that I have divine innate worth and you have a divine innate worth and everybody I've ever met has divine innate worth, then that better bear fruit in our lives that we treat everybody as if they have that divine innate worth.